Hi everyone and happy holidays. There's a zit on my forehead. Interesting. I just wanted to jump in here and reflect on a few things. I'd wanted to post something yesterday, but I was well, for starters, I actually was busy. My housemate was traveling back home, and there's a thing I've been telling myself lately. I do not want to turn into a bitter, angry woman who will never do anything of service for a man because the last time I did that, I felt like I was taken for granted, right? How? I mean, when I tried to explain to my ex partner that spouses get a 50% stake in whatever property a man has when a marriage is ending, it's because even the courts have finally caught up to the fact that there's a lot of invisible labor in being a wife or in being a spouse or in being a romantic partner with a man. And there's a reason why the Kenyan government itself, in spite of its many shortcomings, um, as far as recognizing the value of women, whether it's in leadership or in the home, or as mothers or as educators. Um, our government, I forget which year, set up this rule. We now have a law that says someone is recognized as your domestic partner if they live with you for 6 months plus. I hope that was not abolished. And then my friend Dr. Naima was also updating me on a few other things that have come in support of women, things that will take a long time to roll out because we know at grassroots level, certain things don't change for a long time. Like it takes years for certain things to change, especially when you're thinking about culture. So, for instance, if the government says that wives are entitled to the property of a man when he passes away, he dies, then fine, we know that in our heads. But what really happens in the villages, this woman fine will probably be allowed to keep the house because the court has said so. But what if she's bullied by her in-laws so much so that it affects her quality of life and she finds more peace and sanity when she moves away and goes to stay with other people, like friends or other people, her own relatives. Uh, yeah, which is why I tell women just always prepare for the worst. Like always have your own money, always have your own investments. This is why our moms and aunties always told us to have secret accounts that our husbands didn't know about. And we used to hear this before we got married. We used to be told this. Um Especially church women, there's a way in which a woman will just sort of warn you and tell you, do you have a little something you're doing on the side, whether it's a side business or it's an investment you have with your girlfriends. One of the red flags, ladies, you should look out for is a man who wants to marry you and is very quick to put his nose in your money, for instance. Or and even before he marries you, like he's your boyfriend, or even if he's your husband or your boyfriend, he's a man that you're dating. If you're a straight woman, listen, if he starts to tell you, oh, that land that you own, which is in your name, or which you own with an ex, or which you own with a friend, guy friend, lady friend, doesn't matter. And he says he doesn't think it's proper for you to own property or to own a business with another man, etc. He doesn't think he has a problem with your guy bestie, etc. Red flag, because you were an individual when you guys met and you had a past. So you're either taking me with my stuff and my baggage or you just leave me. So if you asked me, husbands and wives come and go. Friends last a lifetime. And if I had dumped my friends just because I met a guy who brought me to Germany and supported me through school, where would I be now? If I just decided the most important relationship for me is my husband, my partner, oh no, I was not a wife, correction. I was reminded I was not a wife. So me and my ex-partner, ex-boyfriend, if I had told myself, oh, surely I have been in this family for over 11 years, like, I mean, for about 11 years. Um, he's my everything, where would I be right now that the relationship has dissolved and didn't even end as amicably as, it ended amicably and then things got hostile, like it got ugly. Where would I be right now? Where would I be if I didn't have the German government didn't require international students to have money for upkeep in an account for a year? I would have been shipped back to Kenya. He literally did say that that's what he wanted. Like he said he wanted me to give back the money that I still had left in the account. And then if I choose to go to Kenya, I guess that was inconsequential to him because I was to go in July. But and I hadn't finished my master's program. I hadn't sat all my classes. And yet this money was supposed to take me through school. So for him, it was, we are not together anymore. I am no longer supporting you through school. And he's like, I had no malicious intent. We had a conversation towards the end. I want you to all really, really, really consider, why am I bringing this up during the holidays? I've been talking to quite a few women who have cited that they envy my position right now, which is I'm sat in bed looking at LinkedIn posts. And that's just, I'm a workaholic. I need to work on it. But I did rest though. Correction. I spent the evening yesterday hanging out with my housemate, not the whole evening. He went to meet the guys. He'd left some stuff somewhere, which is why I started this story that way. He'd left some laundry in the washing machine. And I asked myself, why wouldn't I put out his laundry considering he's told me he's traveling tomorrow? And I mocked him. I was like, how are you traveling tomorrow and you're doing laundry today? I mean, the evening, he's like, no, I'm traveling in the morning. I just shook my head. I'm like, this is me judging you. Like, I wish I had come earlier. Like, you men can't do anything without us, can you? And he just laughed. And so we were gisting. Like, we've started to really talk about like our personal lives and stuff like that. And he told me before he left to go meet his guys, he was like, oh, I wanted your perspective on something. So he came back and asked me and we talked about it, and of course about myself a lot, because I use my life as an example. I use the lives of people I know who share their stories with me to teach other people, like, hey, this has happened to someone else, this has happened to the other person. And some of them have told me, Sharon, please tell my story to every young woman, every young man out there, so they don't make the mistakes I've made. I guess now I understand why people ask me whether I'm a life coach. Technically, yes. But I don't think like my life is perfect. I'm a life coach in the sense that I will teach you lessons from the lessons that other people have learned from things they've done right, things they've done wrong. So for instance, some of the best people to receive advice from, relationship experts, psychologists, psychiatrists, who are aligned with your values. So for instance, as a feminist, and I know very many people are getting on the feminist bandwagon to get laid, or this is for men. Women, I am actually warning you. There are men who identify as feminists so that they can sleep with you, because then your guard is down and you don't see it coming when it happens. So, and then there are also women who identify as feminists because it's a popular thing, because Chimamanda is cool and she sounds smart and she has natural hair, and just have not schooled themselves, like have not bothered to do the actual work of figuring out what is feminism. And I don't like lazy people. I really don't. I don't like misinformed people who spread misinformation. If you come to me and you tell me, I'm not a feminist. I remember there's a time I was on a forum and then this lady was like, I'm not a feminist. I don't believe in those things. And I was like, oh, you don't believe that women have rights? Like, she said, no, I believe women have rights. I'm like, do you believe women have rights to vote? Do you believe women have rights to work outside of the home? Because what we do at home is work. Do you believe women should be compensated for the work they do at home, so that if your husband dies, you're compensated? If you get divorced, you're compensated. If he leaves you for someone younger, lighter, tighter, you're compensated. Do you believe in that? She said yes. I'm like, then you are a feminist. And I know I say this and it sounds condescending to many people. Read a book. Seriously, watch a video. If like, thanks to TikTok, YouTube, and being on your phone all day, which is me, by the way, not TikTok, but being on my phone all day, read an actual book. Read Hood Feminism by Nikki Kendall. Read Black Feminists something. I forget it. But there's so much material out there. In fact, just join LinkedIn and follow feminists. And then read the articles they're sharing, and then look at the comments and look at the arguments that people are having, and then think about your own thoughts on these things, and then follow Janet Mbugua and follow Aline Migwi of Usikimie, and follow other women who are talking about the issues that women are going through. Find out what's going on in Kenya and femicide in Kenya. Read The Guardian. the Telegraph is nonsense lately because they're just things they've been posting that I look at, I'm like, what the hell? What happened to journalism? And like read from credible sources. And then even if it's you think it's a credible source, look for other sources that support the stuff you're reading. Look for people who are telling the stories of minorized groups. Like, I don't know if I'm saying that right. Minorized groups, like they're minority because it has been put on them. Like they've been caused to be the minority. Like it's a systemic problem. It's an intentional issue that there are people in power, in positions of power and influence, who've made sure certain people remain a minority. We, Black and brown people, are basically form a majority, a global majority, when it comes to the number of people who make up the earth. Like, the size of Africa is the size of the other continents put together, and yet we are still treated like a village. You're like, oh yeah, I went to Africa the other day. Where? Because I don't usually just say, like most other people from other parts of the world don't say I went to Asia. You say I went to Japan, I went to China, I'm hoping to visit Korea. Um I'd like to go to India. Indian cuisine is my favorite. I love Mexican food. I love beans and rice, and like we know a little bit about, I'd like to go to Mexico. I'd like to go to Italy. And we don't say Europe typically. Some people do, but we typically go like, I'd like to work in the UK because this kind of work pays well there. I'd like to go to Washington, D.C. I would personally like to go to a university in Baltimore. I have a loved one who is, I do not want to mention where she is, but like, I need to pause. I need to pause because I get very passionate and very frustrated and very tired sometimes when um, I speak on these things, because sometimes it feels like I'm dealing with like a macadamia nut that I need to keep hitting over and over until it cracks. And I'm not saying this to insult anyone. I make mistakes and I've made mistakes repeatedly, because when you've suffered trauma, your brain changes. So you behave a certain way. If you're a recovering people pleaser, that's not going to change just because you've been in therapy for 6 months. It's not going to change immediately. And it doesn't mean that you will never have a problem with setting boundaries just because you set a boundary this Christmas. Just because you finally told that auntie to stop asking you when you're going to get married or pregnant before your eggs dry, or it doesn't mean you're, just because you finally had the courage to tell your mom that a certain relative was inappropriate with you as a child, that you're going to be able to advocate for yourself again in the future. Just because it happened once, just because, let me use an example that very many of us women can probably relate to. Just because the hot ex you have no business talking to called you and you picked and you guys had a conversations and you were feeling tingly down south, and you overcame the urge to tell him, yeah, you can come over, or you overcame the urge to, I mean, the urge to say yes when he invited you back to his place because it's winter. This is just the season for bad decisions. And if you're not used to being in your own company, it's very easy to just fall back into old patterns. And I have made those mistakes. Take it from someone who dated someone for 8 years. We broke up for 5 and went back to this person because I was like, I need closure. And I remember my own friend Shiko told me, there's no closure. I did not hear her. And that is why to this day, if a woman tells me, oh yeah, I found myself back at, my ex's place and whatnot, I'm not the one who will be like, oh my God, why are you being so, why don't you learn? You know why? I have learned to be gracious because I have made those mistakes, and I know you're not making those mistakes because you're stupid. You're making those mistakes because sometimes dysfunction feels normal to you. And there's no on and off switch for feelings. I got that from my friend Mark. There's no on and off switch for feelings. So someone you've loved for 16 years, you're not going to suddenly stop loving them. And as someone who is getting out of the dating pool at the age of 36 and a half, to take a break from all of it so that I can learn how to be on my own proper. Like, I really enjoy my own company. Again, I swear, this is not me just trying to over explain singlehood to anyone. It's because people are actually marveling at some of the stuff I'm saying and reaching out to me and going like, wait, this can be done. Now, the people I've worked with for a long time, who I've spoken these truths to over and over, they are now getting it. Like, it's been a consistent 1 year, 2 years of like, it's okay, it's fine. I know you picked his call and you went to his place. Just come back home, take a shower, move forward. Let's do the STI test on this day. Because beating people up for poor decisions has never stopped them from making them again. The only reason children did that is because we were their caregivers. They had nowhere to go. So I don't ascribe to, like, I ascribe to a certain kind of tough love, but there's a level I can only dish and take so much. And I tell people, hey, tough love ahead, do you have the capacity for it? And sometimes they'll be like, no, not today. Today is the day when I wasn't a good mom, or today is the day I wasn't a good student. I didn't hand in my assignment on time. I'm already beating myself up about ABC. I don't have the capacity to hear from my friend or my coach that I did something else that was bad. Then we process what they're going through. I'm like, are you really a bad student for not handing in your assignment? Or are you going through seasonal affective disorder, aka depression in winter blues? Are you really a bad student, or are you overwhelmed? Are you a bad student, or is your anemia kicking in because, or is it PMS? Because it's never just a period. Ladies, I know our moms made us feel like take Panadol and move on. My mom was never one of them. You know why? Because her period pain was bad, and she promised herself she would never be the dismissive mother that her mother had been. So when it comes to period health, there I thank God for the mother I had. She would literally, when I would throw up and I was sick with pain, she would be the one taking me to hospital to get that injection. For pain. She's the one who would make sure I taken medication. She's the one she's cleaned up my puke from the floor and tucked me in and told me sleep and prepared bath water for me. And then when she's sick, I do the same for her. Do you see how my mother has modeled for me female friends? My mom has had friends of different tribes, different walks of life, women who are in church, women who don't believe in church, women who are side chicks, women who live with men who are not their husbands, women who are single, mostly women who are single, women who are runners, women who are mostly couch potatoes, women in business, women who work in government, women who are entrepreneurs, women who've just focused on being civil servants to the end, like to retirement. Women who are married come to my mom for advice and send their husbands to my mother. They're like, go talk to Betty Ogugu. Because she's wise. And these are women who've understood the real threat is never the other woman. The real threat is the person you walked down the aisle with who is looking elsewhere. Which is why I have been in an open relationship before, and this person was like, why don't you just think about yourself? Why are you like concerned about these other people? And I'm like, I don't know how to switch it off, and I'm not going to just because it's you. I'm not going to change who I am because it's you. You're a man. Men come and go. Women, on the other hand, if I find myself locked out of my house, I'll go knock on a woman's door. Like, now I know my downstairs neighbor is a woman and she's come here to complain about a window that was making noise. She walked into my house because it was irritating her, I could see. And I understood. It was not appropriate for her to just waltz, but I could see it was bothering her. And then she saw my space and she said it looked really nice, because I invited her and I told her, please come in, it's not this window. And then I told her it's my housemate's place, we can't walk in, he's not home, I'll talk to him about it. But why did I not really freak out about her walking to me? Because she's a woman. She'll not harm me. We have women like Giselle in Paris, whose court case has finally, and every time it's finally 50 men have been found guilty and her husband has been sent to prison for 20 years. I'm sad that the other 50 men are only getting like about 10 years in prison. The thing that worries me even more is the men who are guilty, 20 were not identified, and they are walking free. these are, guys. There was a nurse, there was I think a former police officer. I don't know if there was a firefighter. There were guys literally aged from, I think, 24 all the way to 74. Like, every time I hear people make that argument, not all men, I'm like, no, 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 but all men, because there are also men from the investigation who stumbled upon this ad that her husband had put out to drag his wife and have film men having sex with her, like raping her, basically non-consensual sex. And there are men who saw that and they did nothing. They didn't call the cops and say, oh gosh, this is happening on the internet, go check it out. So let's say roughly, because I was listening to Pierre Fleury, is that his name? I'll mention him I was going to say show notes, it's not a podcast yet, but and he was saying, yeah, that's what we are living with. That's what we as women are living with, like constantly worrying about your well-being. And it's interesting when I look at, is it Millicent or Maverick, the lady in Kenya who has exposed these two men who I don't even want to mention their names, because whose names I don't even want to mention, because they absolutely disgust me. How these men are, and even the people who write articles saying she destroyed someone's marriage. No, she did not. The man who chose to sleep with someone other than his wife and exploit her because she needed money and she was young and coming up, those are the people who destroy their marriages. A woman does not sleep her way up the corporate ladder. It's men in positions of power who exploit her. Her need to make money to buy food and educate her children or child or dependents or care for her old parents. I know girls who have been having affairs because that's the only way they can support their people back home. I have no judgment. The same way I've tipped strippers because I'm like, she's just working. She's doing honest work. And then when people slut shame, I'm like, willing buyer, willing seller. Why is no one complaining that prostitution or paid sex work has been in existence since the dawn of the Bible times or whenever? Because there was always demand from straight men who will still moralize in the Bible, bring a woman basically naked to Jesus and say, we found her in adultery in the very act. She wasn't screwing a pumpkin. She was with a man. Why was this man not dragged here to be stoned to death like her? And this is the thing I tell people about reading the Bible with nuance. He didn't even look up at her. He didn't cast his gaze on her nakedness. And I keep telling people, Jesus is a feminist. He wrote on the ground and he said, he who is without sin cast the first stone. So Christians, why did we miss that class? Why is it that it's Christmas season and I'm not hearing any of you saying you're going to Konange Street to give food to the women there and just have a conversation with them woman to woman? And I've had people say, oh, when they see you with a guy, they get upset and they insult you. And I'm like, and you're willing to knock down the doors of people to tell them about the love of Jesus, right? Why not go to the highways and the byways as Jesus did? Why not talk to the chick in a situationship and ask her? I have friends who've done that. This is why I believe in women. I have friends who've literally gone and talked to this lady because they were in positions of influence and they're like, why do you do this? Do you enjoy it? Is it, and they're like, I'm a single mom. I'm an exotic dancer because I'm a single mom and I have to feed my child. And they're like, if you had an out, would you? And these women are like, what? Yes. Some of them, not all of them. And this particular lady was like, yeah, I would, I studied this and this and this. And do you know my friend actually helped land her job? I know women someone reached out to someone and said, hey, I don't know if you know, but the guy you're messing around with is my boyfriend. And this lady tells her, I didn't know. Can we meet? Can we talk woman to woman? And after some silence, she's like, you know what? Yeah, I would like to meet you. And they meet, and she's like, oh my God, I now see why he liked you. You're such a vibe. And she's like, babe, no, he should not have been cheating on you. And they organize a rendezvous where they trap him and he comes and he's shook that, yeah. And these women stay in touch. Like, that's the energy. I have been surrounded with, and some of these women, I'm not in touch with them, and some of these women I still, once in a while we talk, but like I've had some very beautiful stories about how women show up for each other if we stopped seeing each other as competition. Like how in Kenya women have decided, hey, we are tired of the emotional abuse, financial abuse, manipulation. My blood pressure is rising. I didn't have blood pressure as a single person, even though I had bills to pay, and he helped me with the bills, and marriage sorted some things, but it created new problems. And women are building homes together. Women are doing farming projects together. Women are raising kids together. I'm co-parenting with single moms. And women have realized, oh wait, if I have Sharon, Charity, Stella, Mine, I think I'm okay. You know, if I have Shiro, if I have Koki, if I have, I think I'm fine. And that, and I told my housemate last night, women don't need sex. We need intimacy. Do you know how I learned that from an older woman who's divorced? And she's like, she told me, Sharon, if you try it, you'll see. And I was in a long distance relationship, so I didn't get to see my boyfriend much, but I built on my female friendship. So through campus, I was essentially single. And I had a full life. And that's why I celebrate singlehood even now. I'm like, whenever I'm single, I accomplish so much in my physical well being. I have time to go to the gym. I get to sleep in. I get to eat well. I was celebrating using my slow cooker today, and I made soup with it for the first time. And it was mwah, French kiss. It's not French kiss, African auntie, African grandmother quality food. And I'm planning to get a food processor because the one I got from my ex is small, and I want to make like batch cook foods because I'll be doing meal prep from January for myself and for clients. And I'm super excited to do the things I love. And the person who helped me land my first interview in Germany is a female friend who is in Kenya, who literally just was like, yo, Sharon is in Germany and she's struggling. What's going on? Can you give her a job? Someone who has connections with connections. I have witnessed, and now I told a friend of mine, oh my gosh, when I come back to Kenya, I'll probably be broke because I haven't worked, like, had a solid job with consistent pay in months and months. And so I'll just have enough to spend for this period of time, but it won't be a crazy summer bunny type first visit to Kenya after 2 years. And she's like, babe, just come. Just come, we'll eat what I have. And I told her, and we made this plan ages ago when I thought I was going to Kenya in July. I was like, when I come, we'll cover rent and groceries, and I'll do the cooking and I'll do the cleaning and you'll do the working. But on top of that, I will pay half your rent, and that money will go into the account for the furtherment of your studies because there's a course she wants to do early to mid next year. And that's women for you. No sexual favors expected. No, I have plans with another girlfriend for her to come and visit me and for me to go visit her. She's in another country, and a different girlfriend, the same. Because these two girlfriends are like, one of them is thinking of setting up a business in a new country, and another one is in her home country, but she needs a break. And we were just introduced by some guy, a guy I don't even talk to anymore. And that's the magic of women. They literally, I have friends who ask me, have you eaten? Do you have money for food? Do I need to send you money? My daughter is staying with a female friend of mine. And so I can exhale knowing my daughter is safe. When I need to take a loan, I struggle to ask for help. And this was the first time I needed to ask for money in my adulthood in a long time. It was the women. Women, we chronically underestimate the power of coming together. If Woman King did not inspire you, me, I don't know. If those stories of revolutionary women in the LGBTQ plus community or in the civil rights movement have not inspired you, if even people in positions of power and influence who mention that I would not have been here if it wasn't for my wife and the mother of my children, she held down the fort. If you don't hear that and it doesn't register in your head, me here, who adores the mother of my step siblings, the wife of my father, my stepmom is an incredible human being, and I can talk to her as one talks to an adult, but also talks to someone who's like a mother, because she is a mother, like a mother to her. And I'm like, Why didn't I meet her sooner? We chronically underestimate. And I'm not saying there are no bad women. Hey! There are women out here pouring acid on people's faces because they're like, how dare you steal my man? But think of it. I dare you, as I told a friend of mine, actually, friends of mine have been repeating this 2025, decentralize men from your life. Decentralize men, decentralize sex, decentralize coupling, like being with someone. Learn how to be in your own company. Learn how to be okay with being a little lonely and choosing that over being with someone who is constantly triggering and dysregulating you. Choose friendships where you are seen and heard. You'd rather have two friends than a crowd of people just using you, or a crowd of people who, and when I say using you, I mean for the emotional support you offer them, for the free therapy, for the loans you give that they don't return, for the I have friends who pay me for my services. I have friends who say, no, I don't want you to send me that money because I know right now you're not in a good space. Because they know I have a savior complex. Every time I hear they have problems, I want to help. And I want us to normalize, just to normalize treating ourselves well, centralizing ourselves. Why is this hard for us as women? We were not taught this, it was not modeled for us. Our mothers and grandmothers and aunties and sisters and cousins fell on the sword and sacrificed themselves on the altar of, I don't know, just martyrdom was made to look very sexy. You know, true womanhood is shape shifting to make a man happy, shape shifting to make your father happy, to make your mother happy. To we were basically trained from childhood to be people pleasers. You don't get over it at the age of 39, 40. You don't. But when you notice a pattern, jite mkutano. Call yourself to a meeting, go like, Sharon, come, sit here. What's going on? You know, third relationship in a year. What's same, different penis, same problem. Different man, yeah, that one liked to go to, that one didn't, this one. Slightly different personality type, but the same problems, the same fights. You are the problem. Call yourself to a meeting. It's going to be difficult, but it's very necessary work because you'll avoid the heartache. For starters, you'll avoid the HPV, but the STIs and the pregnancy scares. And I've been there. I'm laughing because I've been there. I'm not judging you. I'm literally telling you, sis, I have been you. Love yourself well. Love yourself hard. Prioritize yourself. What is this on my face? Prioritize your health and well-being. And health and well-being is not just your blood cholesterol, blood sugar, and blood pressure, okay? And you see reactive protein markers are good. No. Even are you sleeping well? Are you always tiptoeing when you're with this person? Are you always worried that, oh my God, he's not called me today, he must be with someone? If that is your life, that is your sign to leave. Easier said than done. And living isn't as easy for us women. It's not easy. Sometimes your monies are tied together. Sometimes, you finished making his last car loan payment. So you're like, so now what happens? In this economy, sometimes it just means having an exit strategy. Just tell yourself, I'll put my head down, I'll get on that birth control so that I don't get pregnant with him. I'll just, I'll do the thing. I'll focus, I'll look ahead. I'll set those boundaries as far as it is safe to, and where I can. I'll make more visits home. I'll keep myself busy. Whatever you can do to while you're safe, you also have to think of your safety, because that's the lived reality of women. And then one day you leave. And then one day you will start over. And then one day you will finally get the courage to end that relationship and tell them, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I don't want this anymore. And when the threat of, so where will you live? You'll have moved in with your sister and they didn't know, at an undisclosed location somewhere in Rongai. moved to Embakasi somewhere, and you've paid rent and deposit, and your sister has been staying there waiting for you to come, and you were buying the baby meko and all the other things. You were waiting for the chama money, and you were just organizing yourself for a little bit, and then you go and you and your sister will eat together, and it's not a 4 burner cooker anymore. It's not a big fridge, but you have peace. I have seen women build from the ground up. You will be surprised how much you can accomplish. Now, of course, it's not as straightforward, it's not as simple, especially if you're going through abuse, but I would say talk to a trusted person. That's not everyone, that's not all your church members, that's not. But I've found that the universe, God, like sends these people our way, and sometimes we don't see the answer that's right in front of us. And sometimes you just find yourself talking to a person you don't know too well, but you tell them, and then they tell you, yeah, this was me 6 years ago. My husband used to beat me blue black, that's why I have a scar here, and they give you actual real life helpful tips. They give you their number. They tell you, if you're ever going through ABCD, which is the thing I went through in the second month, if he knows where you work, this is what you do. You can talk to this person at FIDA, they'll help you. FIDA, I love those women. I've been there, and a certain woman, I don't remember her, served me so well when I was pursuing, I was trying to make a complaint about sexual assault, attempted rape in 2018, and the cops were taking me around in circles. And she drafted a letter that forced them to give me an OB number, like to indicate I had officially made a report. I had made an official report. And it's empowering to meet. Now, you will also meet the victim blamers. Unfortunately, that's life. But don't go alone. Let someone know what you're going through. Don't go through it alone. Okay? This was heavy for the holidays, right? But it needed saying. I'm going to post another one about how triggering the holidays can be for people for whom Christmas break is a time of going back to the family that harms you. But I will let you guys enjoy your chicken, your turkey, your ugali, mokimo, fufu, etc.